So when you're welcome, everybody. Welcome, everybody, to our regular board meeting of Wednesday, April 8th, 2026. It's 1 p.m. Please call this meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Becca, can you take roll, please?
Director Robertson?
Here.
Director Davidson?
Here.
Director Thomas?
I'm here.
Director Rederman?
Here.
President Garamendi is absent today.
Item 2 on our agenda is public comment. At this time, members of the public may address the board on any non-agendized items. The public is encouraged to work through staff to place items on the agenda for board consideration. No action can be taken on these matters not listed on the agenda. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. Do we have any public comment in the room? Do we have anyone interested in speaking online? Okay, we're going to move on to our consent agenda. We have items 3A through 3E on our consent agenda.
I'll move for acceptance. Second.
We got a motion and a second. Becca, can you take roll?
Director Robertson?
Yes.
Director Davidson?
Yes.
Director Thomas?
Yes.
Director Rederman?
Yes. Item 4A on our agenda is new business. Discussion action regarding change order for a CIP project, copper C transmission main and booster pump station. Kevin Williams, District Engineer.
Good afternoon, directors. We're here today to talk about a potential change order from Mazingo Construction on the C transmission pipeline. This is our 20-inch diameter pipeline from our water treatment plant up to C tank in Copperopolis. We believe that Mazingo Construction took all the reasonable measures to protect the pavement during construction of the new 20-inch transmission main. Because it's such a big transmission main, the trench is 4 feet wide, and there's several areas where we have to go deep underneath existing storm drains, and the digging is pretty difficult. There's rock and other hard soils. The existing pavement, especially on Charmstone and the section of Little John Road closest to our treatment plant, some of the areas the pavement's only 1.5 inches thick, and it's cracked, completely alligator, and there's really no base underneath it. The area on Little John has more base than Charmstone, but it's still has a PCI rating of poor by the county. And to the county's own contention, they said some of the pavement is being held together by the dirt that's in the cracks between the pavement. Some of it failed during construction, right along the trench line, which kind of increased the width of the pavement that has to be restored as part of the project. There's also some areas where we had to shift the pavement away from the shoulder and into the lane because of the existing water lines and separation requirements. And then in that section, it put the edge of the trench right in the wheel path, so we had to go an extra 1-2 feet outside of the planned trench width, which all increased the quantity of restoration of pavement. So the county requires us to match the existing pavement thickness +1 in most areas. In some areas, we were able to negotiate where we paved wider and thinner to try to keep as close as possible to our planned quantity of asphalt. But even an increase from 3 to 4 inches gives you that 25% increase, and we pay by the ton. So we don't think it's anything Mazingo did. So basically, yeah, they're originally $648 a ton for asphalt. So it's on the higher end of prices that we see for asphalt. But this was the price that was included in the original bid. And other contractors that bid the project had dollar amounts that were close to that. I don't remember the exact amount right now, but it's more than we're paying on the A to B. Um,
Did you say $648?
Yeah, 648 tons, that's placed quantity, so that's includes the
Placed.
trucking,
Oh.
includes the removal of the existing pavement. So, and now with asphalt prices being so high from the batch plant because the price of oil is so high, actually the price of asphalt goes up even higher than oil because the asphalt comes off the bottom when they process the oil. So they try to maximize how much diesel and oil they make. And so it actually increases the price of asphalt even higher when the oil prices go up.
Part they used to throw away, they charge more for it.
Yeah, the part they used to throw away. So, but we're locked in the original bid price up to 25% overrun. And we met with the county and walked the alignment. We tried to minimize the areas that we're required to pave. There's an area between our treatment plant and Moccasin along Little John Road where the existing pavement, the 4 feet that we're leaving on the outside of the lane, is in really bad condition. It's rutted out just from traffic over the years. We're going to be putting 8 feet of new pavement next to 3 to 5 feet of existing pavement. But that's not our responsibility to replace. That's the county's. It would be about $160,000 at the tonnage price to do the full lane width there. So we're just doing what we're required to do. And the county doesn't have any plans to replace that extra section. Up on Charmstone, which is the section that goes up to the tank, that's where we had the 1.5 inch thick pavement. It's all alligator. So just digging the trench, neat line trench, the rest of the pavement around there is just kind of falling off into the trench. There's nothing you can really do about that. So we went to the yellow line in the middle, so we're paving a few extra feet there. Otherwise, the edge of the trench would look like a zipper. That wouldn't be acceptable to the community, I don't think. And it wasn't acceptable to the county. They like nice straight edges on the pavement. So here's where we're at. I can't answer any questions, but we're kind of locked in on this now. We have to restore the pavement for the county requirements.
Does this require a budget adjustment, or is there enough our CIP project?
I think we have enough in this year's budget for it. There might be a final adjustment. We have another change order for like $60,000 that we talked about, the engineering committee about on rehabbing the existing buildings at the B and C tank. And then we have a couple other small change orders. So on top of the 300,000, I think we have about another 100,000. So we're right at the amount we had budgeted. So we anticipate by the end there might be a small budget adjustment needed.
Okay.
Did this item go, and I see someone from our engineering committee looking to speak. I was just going to ask if this has been to the engineer committee at all. But
Not this.
go ahead, Russ, please.
Okay, Kevin, a couple of things that you mentioned, I want to clarify, or have you clarify. On Charmstone, where the pavement is only 1.5 inches, and it doesn't have any rock, base rock underneath it.
Yeah.
What's going to be our requirement? I mean, are we going to have to put 4 inches of base rock plus 4 inches of paving?
No, the agreement we have with the county in writing is to put back 2 inches of asphalt, a little bit thicker than they have for the whole 12-foot wide lane. And then as we go up to the tank, it's a 1-lane road, so we're going to replace half the road with 2-inch thick pavement. So it'll be half the road for basically the whole way. There's a little section above Arrowhead where the pipe crosses the road, and we'll replace the whole single-lane road on that section.
Well, obviously the county spec has improved, because where I live on Hunt Road, the pavement's only 3/4 inch thick. They've doubled their.
Yeah, they doubled it. I don't think this road's ever been touched since it was built. I don't know how long ago. Never been overlaid or any kind of surface treatment or anything. It's unfortunate that they get to this bad a condition, but.
All right, well, any other questions?
Any other comments from the board? Yes, go ahead.
I have a couple. So you work with the county, have them try to pay for instance, the part you were made that had 8 foot of asphalt going down, but the rippled edge we weren't going to do, even though it needed to be done. County doesn't want, I mean, while we're in there working, they won't work with us and help.
Yeah, they initially told me to replace both sides of the road, and that got escalated. I told them, no, we're not replacing both sides of the road. We didn't do anything to the other side of the road. I mean, we had some trucks up and down. There's some soft spots because there was like existing septic tank that was leaking. I think they repaired it, but it's like there's soft spot in the road. We're gonna patch those so we don't leave a bad, these potholes behind. They weren't, but we'll do the patches along those, small like 5x5 patches. But yeah, we talked to the county. They said they don't have any money to do this, and we negotiated to do 2 inches instead of, where our trench was, we were supposed to do 3 inches, so it averages about the same, a little bit more, but I don't see how we could leave an edge that looked like this on the road there, and people would be upset.
I didn't understand the part about the way the contract reads, the maximum overage they're allowed is 25%. Did I hear that correctly?
That's what we measured it and took the quantities that we measured in the field, and that's where we came up with the number. So, yeah, so we're 25% more than we originally planned, and that's because we shifted the pipeline because of this other area that caved in, not caved in, but zigzagged. Yeah, generally most of our contracts have an escalation. If it goes above 25%, then we can renegotiate the prices. This contract, I looked through it, and we actually didn't include that provision in this contract. We will going forward. That's all Caltrans projects. Any item that extends 25% beyond they have to hold their price for the first 25% over. And we've had a lot of contracts that had that verbiage in before. This particular contract was missing that language.
So in addition to that, 25% seems like a lot. I mean, 10%, 5% and $300,000 seems like a lot. Are there any lessons besides making future contracts include such a clause?
We've done some projects before, like smaller sites, like lift stations, where we give a lump sum. That's for paving the area, but that's usually a fixed thickness because it's like a new construction. The county spec is thickness plus 1 inch. So we potholed during design and try to determine what the thickness of the asphalt was, but it varies so much that, you might do an intersection and they've overlaid this direction, overlaid that direction in the past. So you get a thicker section, or maybe you get a thinner section because they stopped short, like they stopped short of moccasin with their pavement under there. So we potholed the moccasin, we got a thinner section than we thought we had. So there's a lot of guesswork you gotta do. I think we did like 5 potholes during design for the subsurface conditions and thickness of pavement to try to estimate what the restoration would be. But a contractor, when they bid the project, they're gonna be conservative because they're not in the business to lose money. So when you bid a project as a contractor, you go to the worst case condition, unless you think you can file a claim against the owner for the additional compensation. So we're gonna get charged for it either way. So you can do a lump sum, but then if it's thicker than you show on the plans, they're still gonna charge you for the extra thickness. That makes sense. It's probably more detailed than you want to know, but
I followed the detail. It's just,
it's best
I
to
guess I'm
just,
sitting here as a director. Dollars,
well,
like a lot. Was there anything that we could have done, CCWD's end to?
But, and I think part of it, and maybe you already mentioned this and I missed it, but we had to move the
And I
alignment.
heard that part.
Yeah, so that's really what I think drove
The main driver.
majority of it. Yeah.
and we have these differences on every project. Our asphalt's on like the Tech pipeline in Dorrington, it was way less than our estimate. Not way less, but at least as much less, not dollar amounts, but tonnage wise. And then, on the A to B, we worked with the county and we upped the quantity via change order because they're going to reimburse us for extra quantities. It varies by project. And then sometimes we're able to re-engineer the trench because we backfill with class 2 AB, and that gives you a stronger subgrade section. So you can minimize your asphalt. This particular project, we weren't able to do that because we were bound by the encroachment permit. But there's different ways that you can try to minimize this during design and construction. We exhaust all those opportunities because the asphalt pavement is one of the most expensive things on the project. And like the Lake Pollock intertype project on that, we're looking at just paving back the trench and microsurfacing the entire road because the price of asphalt's gone up. The price of microsurface has kind of stayed the same. So that's an option, is to microsurface if it's a class B. This is class C, so it's trench pave. Class A is from, like on the job we're working on now, is from Moccasin to basically the Saddle Creek. That section is going to get a 2-inch overlay as part of this project because it's a brand new road. There's all kinds of variations. So when you got 4 different types of roads within one project, 6 different thicknesses of asphalt, and you move the trench over 4 feet, and you got to keep the trench line out of the wheel path, the variables are impossible to predict.
I'm in support of what you're requesting, but I feel it's kind of incumbent upon me to ask the question because it's a lot of money and a lot of. I'll just leave it at there. Thank
Okay.
you for the
No problem.
explanation.
Okay, if my memory serves me correctly, we also have a contract with, I think the firm is Peter. I have that right?
Yeah, they're Verdantis now, but yeah, the same company.
Okay, but they designed it, and I think that we're on the hook with them for some supervision. This is gonna create an opportunity for them to bid their pro rata share of provision on an additional $300,000 worth of work.
No, I think our maps were off by a little bit. And then we gave them some, we did potholing at various locations. So the reason we had to shift it over was the maps or system maps, which is another discussion we need to have with the engineering committee, is updating our system maps. But there was I think they were going off some bad information that we had on as-built. So as far as the location of the pipe, that's what caused the shift. And then as far as the existing pavement, I don't think they took that into account. So yes, I think they did due diligence. If we had built it per plan and they didn't have these issues with existing pavement, I think their quantity would have been good.
Okay, but maybe you're missing my point. I'm just not going to be looking with favor on some supplemental billing from the design firm for supervision of this additional work when it doesn't seem to be anybody's fault necessarily.
I don't think there's going to be any additional supervision. I think it's maybe like 1 or 2 days extra paving, but our inspection crews are going to be watching that. So I don't expect them to be out there watching the pavement.
Okay.
Any other comments?
No, I just wonder if there's any other questions. If not, I'm ready to move this item to authorize the general manager to approve additional asphalt paving quantities associated with the steep transmission line project to address field conditions encountered during construction.
Second. We got a motion and a second. Any public comment on this item online or in the room? Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
We take a roll call vote.
Director Robertson,
Yes.
Director Davidson,
Yes.
Director Thomas,
Yes.
Director Ratterman.
Yes. Okay, item 5 on our agenda, we're going to the reports. Monthly operations report. Damon Wyckoff, step on up.
Good afternoon, directors. Damon's at a meeting in Sacramento, so I will be filling in for him today for the February and March operations department reports.
Thank you, Pat.
Welcome. So this is our first one here. This is a leak at our PRV 30 on Thunderbolt Drive up in Ebbets Pass. This was back in February. There was a 6-inch line on the side of the PRV that blew out. Another video. When this first, there's about 250 pounds of pressure coming into this PRV. So when the line first blew, as you can kind of see, it picked up the metal lid on the vault and moved the metal lid off of the vault. When I think we got the alert because we were losing sawmill tank. So the guys went out and just kind of had to drive the area to try and find this. And I believe Gabriel, our treatment plant operator up there, he was driving down Mustang and actually heard it from his truck. So that's how we located it. That was a 6-inch inlet line that feeds this PRV. That when the guys first got there, you can kind of see the hole on the left. They had to dug that hole out about 12 to 15 feet deep. So the guys, once they got it shut down and isolated, they had to backfill that hole with road base just to get it to a level where they could get in there and work on it. You can see there's the hole there. It was an old 6-inch steel pipe that was pretty pitted and just rotten. So yeah, there was, I think we believe close to 700 gallons a minute that were blowing out of that hole. So it was a lot of water. Luckily, the area it was at, we had excellent drainage. Couldn't ask for better drainage for a situation like this. So that part was good. We didn't damage too much.
That means that there's no claims from this? We didn't damage anyone else's property when that broke?
We did not. Yeah.
Remarkable.
Yep.
Wow.
So yeah, there's another picture of the hole in the 6-inch pipe.
How old is that pipe?
Ooh. Other stuff, probably the 70s. Yeah, early 80s.
We've got miles of pipe like that.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to be doing these every couple of months.
Well, hopefully not.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully not. We just got rid of a lot of the old steel down the Reach One project, so that's good. So there's just the work efforts. Guys trying to get in there to replace that section. There's the new section. If you can see on the picture of the right, there's a cutoff pipe up at the top of the picture. That was the old temporary bypass for during construction. That's how they were feeding that. So when they put the new line in, that just became just a dead end. So the guys just cut that and eliminated that section. There's another picture of the new install. And then once they fixed that, charged the line back up, we realized this was an old 12-inch like seismic fitting, a 90, that was on the other side of the PRV vault in front of it. And that was also leaking. So once we got everything else repaired, fired it back up, realized we had a leak on this also. So then the guys went in to start replacing that. Just eliminated that old 90, put an 8-inch ductile 90 in. That's the old piece there on the right. That's all the new stuff on the left. It's kind of the way this feeds into this PRV. The line comes, it tees out of the 16-inch main, comes to that 90, 90's down along the vault, then 90's to the other side of the vault where the first repair was, and then 90's into the vault. So I'm not sure why there's so many 90's in that small section, but that's.
Did they, and this in my mind, it seemed like it would create more pressure, making a turn like that. Is that how pressure works? Maybe it's an engineer question.
Yeah, that's an engineering question.
Reduce the flow, right?
Usually you put through extreme 90, so you have to put the rest block there. And look like it was the rest block.
Yeah.
Yeah, there would be a lot of rust.
It was a small one.
Pressure. What was the purpose?
Would those increase the pressure having that many 90's? Or?
No, it wouldn't increase the pressure. Just the rust.
So we have that on the books to go back one day and hopefully replumb that, how it comes into the PRV, so where it's more of a straight shot.
When the pipe breaks, it significantly reduces the pressure, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Reduces the water going up to fill your tank also.
Man, the tough engineering questions today.
I know, right?
That one was a lot tougher.
So here's the repair on that
Oh, look at
90.
that.
The guys poured the kicker. Had a couple issues with that one, but we got it buttoned up. Just something to point out, if you notice, these pictures were all in order. So the first round of pictures was in the dark. And here's the last part of the pictures in the dark again. It was quite a job. I think Stacy's online, but it was about a 22, 23 hour work effort. So it was quite the feat. Director Robinson came out, brought the guys coffee and donuts. So they appreciated that. They snacked on that pretty much all day.
What's that full circle clamp?
That was, so if you see the Hymax that's to the left of it, we originally had a Hymax on there. Like I said, there's 250 PSI right there. So the Hymax wasn't cooperating very well. So we had already poured the kicker. Everything was set. So instead of having to pull that kicker up and take everything apart again, we just kind of slid the Hymax back and the guys put a Versa clamp. That's the full circle clamp. They put one of those on there and that held up. So collateral damage. All right. So that's just more of the kind of final touch ups. We got the lid set back on.
And
Made a little mess in the road, but that was an easy cleanup. So that's the guys went through and cleaned up the road afterwards.
That's it, set that close to the road? That was the,
That was below. So the PRV sits on the corner of Mustang and Thunderbolt. And so that's Thunderbolt down below the road. That's a DI, a county DI that's in the picture right there. Yeah.
And then Pat, before we move on from this
Mhm.
real quick, because we've talked about this effort a little bit before, but to see the pictures of it, I think in the video really brings it into focus for folks. And real quick shout out to not only Director Robertson, but the really friendly neighbors
Yes.
brought a bunch of burritos for the guys that evening. It was much appreciated too.
Yes.
But I think this is almost like a case study for what we've been trying to, educate Aqua and then legislators and regulators about how, how rural water systems like the Ebbets Pass system in particular shouldn't necessarily be subject to the same water loss standards as urban areas. And obviously this was a huge blowout. So we knew about the big blowout. But what we also know now is there were probably leaks going on in all of those 90s for many years that we had no way of knowing about. And we have how many PRVs in the Ebbets Pass system?
107-ish.
7.
Yeah.
And yeah, some of them are new and they're not all in this condition, but a lot of them are remote, rural areas like this where if they're leaking, there's no way that we would know. I mean, even with this volume of water to not cause any property damage because it just went down into a drainage. So even a series of small leaks at this location would have been undetectable for us. And just kind of illustrates the challenges we face in chasing water.
Absolutely.
To make that point.
When you talk about water loss, we frequently get criticized because the difference between the water we produce and the water that we build and consume is theoretically been purported to be vastly out of proportion.
Probably more than theoretical, but yes.
Yeah. But when we have a loss like this, can we take that differential between produced and consumed and factor in, or we know where this water went? Can we take that off?
Yeah, I think there is a way to calculate losses, like known losses, and then flushing flows, for example, or another instance where we can calculate how much water we flush when we flush. And so if we know about it and we can calculate it, we can take that into account. But the system losses that are really be a huge challenge for us are the ones that are hard to detect. And we have, fortunately, through the same USDA financing mechanism that purchased all, that we used for the installation of the AMI meters. We just purchased 60 PRVs with flow meters. So we'll, and then adding distribution meters throughout our distribution systems will help us track it and try to pinpoint where we have more problematic areas. But it's still going to be a challenge, and it's going to be a challenge, first of all, to find the time and the resources to install those 60 PRVs. They're in the yard right now. So getting them in is going to be a significant undertaking. And then, that's probably not enough long-term. We're going to more, but it'll help us to some degree track to a more precise degree where we're.
you know where those 60 are going in? Are they
Yeah.
planned and designed? Okay.
Yeah, there's 36-inch and then 30 of the 2-inch, the bypasses. So 20 of them are going to go up to Ebbets Pass area, 10 of them are going to go down to the Jenny Lind area. All right. So next, this is up in Ebbets Pass still. This is Candy Rock Road, and this is one of the PG&E undergrounding projects. They're going to run underground down Candy Rock Road, which also houses our 20-inch raw water line from the tunnel tap to Hunter's treatment plant. So that's our only feed to the treatment plant for the Ebbets Pass area. So
What could go wrong?
what could go wrong, right? Yeah. So the guys went out, did an extensive effort on locating that line, coordinating with, I believe KW Emerson's doing that job. So coordinating with the foremans that are on site, making sure we're all in close communication. They also did some cleanup. That's like a blow off, and there's some valves in there. So the construction crew helped. They did some cleanup just to clear all that out, to make it easier for the guys to kind of mark that line out in certain areas. The picture on the right looks like some of the PG&E work. It looks like red tape on top of there. That's the conduits that they're installing. And then this is the tunnel tap up at the top. So that valve that you can see in the picture on the right is what would shut that line off if anything were to happen. So I think it'd been a while since it'd been exercised. So the Ebbets Pass distribution guys coordinated with our treatment plant operators, and they scheduled a day where they were able to close that valve, make sure it worked, verified that. That way, just in case, we know we can at least shut it off. So everything went good on that. So far, so good on the project. This is up in Ebbets Pass still, little storm damage cleanup. A tree fell, ripped some service lines out of the ground. So these were kind of after efforts. Once the chaos kind of settled down, then the guys are going around and replacing these kind of issues. So they had to cut some of those trees out of the way, dig all that up, and totally replumb both of those services. Cutting some of the roots out of the way from that down tree. And then there's kind of the finished product. There's the 2 meters that they reset. Everything was plumbed back and then set new boxes. That one was a pretty good work effort on that one. Just because all the roots. Still job. This is more fire hydrant replacements. This one was on Manual Road up in Arnold. Crews continue to go through and replace hydrants as we find them that are broken. And then they also, if they don't have a guard valve, we install a guard valve. That way we have a way to isolate those hydrants. Those work efforts continue as well. The picture on the left was a water line leak at the reclaim plant in Vallecito. The picture on the right was installing an inline valve in Big Trees Village. Not sure what street this was on, but I know this was installing an inline valve somewhere where we might not have had one. So if we had to do a shutdown to repair or replace anything, this would minimize that shutdown. So crews added a valve in to where it could be beneficial to not affect customers as much. And then this troubleshoot and repaired aerator number 2 at Copper Cove Wastewater Treatment Plant. So it looks like probably the mechanics and the electricians on the picture on the left there. The mechanics use their crane trucks to pull those aerators out of the ponds. So they did some work on that. This one was the mighty bucket truck used to re-aim the telemetry radio for West Point Wastewater Treatment Plant to the new septic receiving building.
So Damon just climbed right up there and turned it right.
Yeah. Let's see, this was some electrical work. We were having a failure at the Huckleberry lift station. The pumps weren't alternating. So the electricians went in there, diagnosed that, and corrected that issue in the PLC. This was corrected some trending issues on SCADA computers and cleaning up some old equipment at the Copper Cove Water Treatment Plant. More electrical work, replaced old panel backboards at the La Cantana wastewater treatment plant. Those old back panels were probably plywood and rotted, so they put some stainless steel ones on there. And then this is the electricians adding new treble level transducers to the new Copper Cove B tank, the number 2 tank up there. And then this was, we had a pump go out, one of our lake pumps in Lake Tolic. So pump number 2 failed at our Copper Cove raw water pump station. So right now we're down a pump. So this was the electricians troubleshooting some of that. I think there's a picture after this, but we also had the divers come out. And so the divers went down, dove down to the pump just to verify that there were no damaged wires or anything like that. So just to kind of verify that the pump was bad and there wasn't some other small issue that possibly could have been repaired.
Do we hire someone to do diving and?
Yeah, do you know who does the?
Modesto Irrigation District?
No,
Oh,
MIT.
just a couple, oh, MIT, okay.
Yeah. This was the electricians troubleshooting and correcting a high level call out issue on lift station 10 in Poker Flat. There's some other slides that you'll be able to see, but the issue we had was the pumps got ragged up in the lift station. And when the lift station got to a high level, it didn't call out. We actually had a near miss on this one because it's right on the shoreline. So it was found just in time before it spilled.
How was it found?
I think during lift station checks, the guys went around and found it
Oh.
during their weekly checks. Yeah, so the electricians repaired that. Here are some of the slides with the divers. Can't really see much, but on the left, it's kind of the images or the video of their dive checking those wires. It's another picture of that. I believe that's probably their air hoses that are running down the hill on the right. And then here's some pictures of those ragged up pumps at lift station 10. So as you can see, they're just completely plugged with Swiffers, wet wipes, all the above. So we put out some notifications. Had some door tags made here in the office. The crews went out and passed out door tags for the homes
From the
that
location where this is, do you know which homes are doing it?
there, we can narrow it down. There, I think there were about 20.
Okay.
So we went out and actually door tagged those 20 or so homes. That way everybody, got the
We
notification.
know you did this.
Right, yeah. So there's another picture. You can see just how ragged up they are, but there's a picture in here where there's actually like a washcloth or a kitchen towel that's ragged up in the impeller in the pump. So I don't know why anybody would flush that, but
How did it get down?
there it is.
Rain? Wow.
So hopefully, the notifications are going to help because the guys had to go out there 2 or 3 times within a couple of weeks and derag those pumps. So hopefully we can.
That damages the impellers or?
It can. With these, they don't. The guys just have to pull it all out and get it all untangled, and then it usually works fine after that.
Well, those thrashers or whatever, does this get through that or does this even get to it?
What's that? The chopper pumps?
Yeah.
These aren't chopper pumps. I don't believe in this lift station. So, but something like that, it could probably give a chopper pump an issue too. And then this is a filter rehabilitation project over at Copper Cove Water Treatment Plant. So they're rehabbing the filter. I think all the metal and everything look good, right? Is that the last word I heard? Okay. So that project's moving forward. And then this is Dave on the left. He's one of our operators over in Copper Cove, and that's Clinton on the right. He's one of our construction crew members, and he's assisting Dave. They're changing the bulbs in the UV maintenance at the Copper Cove Reclaim Plant. And that was it. Any questions?
Thank you. Very nice. Thanks for stepping in for Damon.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank-
I'm not as good, but hey,
I don't know why you say that. It was a pretty good report. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any final questions for Pat? Okay,
Oh, thanks,
seeing
Pat.
none. Any public comment on this item? We're going to go to Item 5B, General Manager's Report.
Okay.
Mr. Meekler.
Thank you. I'm gonna start off with some good news. At the last board meeting, we talked about our recent visits and meetings in DC with Mia. And one of the main purposes of that trip and one of the main advocacy priorities for us for some time now is increasing the funding for the Copper Cove wastewater treatment project from the Army Corps of Engineers. A couple, I guess, gosh, was it WRDA, the Water Resources Development Act last year, when we were able to increase our authorization from 13.2 million to 16.3. I'm getting those numbers right. By 3.1 million, basically. But increasing the authorization doesn't get you the money. You still have to either get a budget appropriation or convince the Army Corps to include it in their annual work plan, even without a budget appropriation. And so since we increased the authorization, we've been going back and trying to actually secure that 3.1 million through both channels. We're simultaneously trying to get it into the Army Corps work plan, but if that fails, we've already started the process of budget appropriation through our representatives. And the Army Corps work plan request has never worked for us before. We've tried this before. We've asked the Army Corps to include projects or funding in the work plan, but unless we have a budget authorization, we've never been successful in convincing the Corps. It's a very competitive, relatively small program, very small program by federal standards, and it's a very competitive program. And so the only time we've been able to get into the Army Corps work plan is through a budget appropriation. But it's still worth the effort to seek that path. And we just found out this morning that even without the budget appropriation, we are in the Army Corps' work plan for this fiscal year. All 3.1 million was included in the Army Corps work plan, and we are the only project in California that received Army Corps work plan funding that was not through budget appropriation. So huge credit goes to Mia for really knowing how to get us there. But Kevin and the engineering team, also our directors who are working hard to lean on this issue.
Yeah. There should be a percentage of that.
Team effort for sure.
It's a lobby.
We just got back. We just did this last month and boom, here it is.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean,
25% as
that can't be coincidence, right?
Yeah.
So just a huge team effort, but we couldn't do it without Mia's, knowing which doors to knock on and getting us into those rooms and getting us into those meetings.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just, I mean, pleasantly surprised is an understatement. I was shocked, frankly, but super grateful. And I think, Director Davidson, Director Adamant, I think we reported back at the last board meeting about how positive those meetings with the Army Corps were on a lot of different fronts. I think that overall is what led to getting into the Army Corps.
There's definitely a significant change in the tone about getting projects built from the year previous, where it was a lot of doom and gloom. This time, there was a lot of what can we do better? How can we make this work better? Thank you.
There was a lot of that. There's still, though, a lot of acknowledgement of how competitive the funding is. And so, even though we had positive discussions, I still, kind of assumed we were going to need the budget appropriation again, and we were moving down that path as well. But this is just fantastic news. And I shouldn't fail to mention also Congressman McClintock and both of our senators' offices, who also, not only did they work the legislative process for us, but they helped push this too. They made calls to the Assistant Secretary of the Army's office and supported our request for funding in the work plan. So Kelly and I are going to be busy drafting thank you letters over the next.
And my comments on this is this has been a 10-year effort at least, of going back to DC, and we got our first $1 million for this project in 2022, and another $1 million in 2023, and then we got that 11.1, and then we didn't get anything, in 24, we didn't get anything at all last year, and we kind of thought it was new administration not sending any money to California, but I think a lot of funding through the Army Corps didn't happen last year, but before that, before 22, we had been walking in to their office saying there's a lot of projects. They were telling us a lot of projects. It's hard to get your foot in the door. There's a lot of projects going on, a lot of partly funded projects. We'd like to complete those. And that's ended up
They
looking,
told us no new project.
yeah, looking true here. We finally got our foot in the door in 2022, and they are assisting us now, it looks like, in finishing our project. This should be the last piece to it. Awesome news.
Yeah, so great news. We're still, gonna work with the Corps on ways that we can improve the process and improve the project, and we're hoping that that also bears fruit, even if not for this project, but hopefully, we're still asking for funding for New Hogan intake as well, and so that hopefully the next project goes a lot smoother. So yeah,
Congratulations.
it's really good news. And then other good news this morning. At one point, I had to kind of look at Kevin sideways because it seemed too good of a morning. But the Cal OES has moved our Big Trees Pump Station grant application forward to FEMA, which usually is the biggest hurdle. So as long as FEMA has funding, that usually means that the grant will be awarded. It's not confirmed yet. It's not final yet. So we're not going to pop any corks yet. But these pump stations are in really bad shape, and we've really struggled to find funding for them. So this would be huge for us too. So that was the hardest of the hurdles, and so we're hoping that we'll have good news on that. I don't necessarily have any bad news, but the rest of it is, I should have saved those for the end.
Goes downhill from there.
Mundane.
But, and like yesterday for Legal Affairs Committee, good Legal Affairs Committee meeting yesterday, Kelly's done a great job in pulling those meetings together and bringing in guest speakers, and a lot of interesting discussion. There are some interesting bills pending right now that we're going to watch pretty closely, and maybe some of them might merit a discussion with the full board. So we'll keep you all posted on that. But like yesterday, I'll defer to Director Ratterman to talk more about Mountain County's events. But we are looking forward to hosting the reception and board meeting later this week in Murphy's. We have a CPPA meeting next week, and then Finance Committee the following week. Huge amount of work going on right now. Thank you, Kelly, and the whole admin services team. Budget development is in process, along with a lot of other projects that we're working. So I expect that meeting on the 21st to be a really substantial Finance Committee meeting. And then just looking ahead a little bit, we're working on the Urban Water Management Plan update. That's a DWR mandated plan that is due by the end of this fiscal year. And so probably try to bring a draft to the board before we bring the final for approval, because there's a lot that goes into that. But that'll be coming before the board in the next couple of months. And that's all I have for now.
Oh, thank you. Any comment? Go ahead, Russ.
Michael, I read an article in the Valley Springs News that talked about the USDA approving loan application out in Cogen.
Yeah.
Haven't reported out on that.
Thank you for offering me a soapbox. I'm going to take that opportunity. Yeah, that was great news. That was a multi-year effort as well, getting USDA to approve that loan guarantee for the biomass project in West Point that's on our property. And then, the first time they approved it came with some really onerous conditions that were not workable. So the process of the, I think probably year or two long process of getting them to approve it again without the onerous conditions. It's just been one thing after the other with that project. And so it was great that the approval came through without, with acceptable conditions. The problem is it didn't come through in time to meet the narrow window of time that the developer has to build the project before the deadline in the biomat contract. So the biomat tariff is a California Public Utilities Commission program, and the contract is through that tariff. The contract is with PG&E, and it gives the developer a set period of time. I think it's 2 years, 2 or 3 years to complete construction of the project and have the project online after the execution of the contract. But because of these USDA delays, there's no way to build the project before the end of that window anymore. And previously, didn't think that was that big of a problem because PG&E has waived that or extended that requirement in the past, or issued a new contract with a new deadline. So I don't think anyone anticipated that being that big of a problem, and PG&E is refusing to do so. And it may be partly because the CPUC has since killed that program, so you can't now just sign up and get a new contract. And so without an extension of the deadline to complete the construction of the project, the project could, we're looking at now, $37 to $40 million construction cost that $25 million loan guarantee only covers part of, but the project wouldn't have a buyer, or at least not at a price that would pencil. So after, when did CHIPS start this? Maybe 2012, and then Phoenix stepped in probably 10 years ago. After all of that, multiple rounds of environmental review, all of the struggle to get funding, to get all the regulatory approvals, it's at the brink of failure. We can't get a PG&E extension in a short period of time.
What happened to all those kumbaya moments that we all heard over in Jamestown about?
Great point. And I think Director Garamendi kind of nailed it with his comments at the last board meeting about how, after a while, all the talk doesn't sound so good anymore. When you have a project like this that does the thing that all the talk is about, and we can't get it across the finish line. So it's not, nobody's given up yet. Greg Stengel is never going to give up. And so we're going to do everything we can to help them and to try to continue to raise awareness of that issue. But it would just be tragic to see that project fail.
Well, thank you, Russ, for bringing this up, and you deserve a lot of kudos, a lot of help for all your work you did in DC and with Mia and having Mia help push this along. This was discussed equally with our legislators and anyone who would listen, and especially there's several people, but I think and Greg was looking to you to help with the USDA. I know McClintock wanted to jump in, was upset about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think without your assistance, Greg was leaning on you, and then Mia came in and helped. I think it is very unfortunate that it ended up where we are right now. But without CCWD's help, I don't think it would have gotten this far.
Well, we've done everything we can, I think, and we're going to continue to try to support it. And there are a lot of other entities that have tried to support this project to move forward too. It's grant funded. It has federal and state grants in addition to the USDA loan guarantee. I mean, there's really no reason not to love this project and to get it this close to the finish line and risk having it not move forward is I think unacceptable. We really got to look ourselves in the mirror.
So what's the solution? I mean, is it legislation against PG&E or?
Well, there's multiple avenues that are still being pursued. One is a lawsuit that the Biomass Association of California filed against the CPUC because they believe and they think they have a very strong legal argument that the CPUC didn't actually have the authority to terminate that program. But that is tied up in court and could be for a while. It's dealing with the CPUC is incredibly difficult. And so that could potentially bring the program back. But again, there's a lot of uncertainty there. Other than that, we're just trying to pull every lever we can to put pressure on PG&E to extend the contract because they've done it before. They can do it. It's a choice that PG&E is making.
How many months of extension required?
Oh, I'd have to check with Greg on that, but I think it's fair. I mean, probably a year would be my guess of additional time because of how much time has passed and trying to secure the finance.
Well, this is all wrapped up in this groundswell of enthusiasm and recognition of how much the forest needs to be cleaned up. I mean, PG&E is spending probably billions of dollars on undergrounding to solve a portion of the problem. I just don't understand how they could withstand the public criticism if it pointed out that, hey, here's a project that would help out a lot, but you're not going to give a 1-year extension.
And it would help them. We've tried to point out, it'd be forest management in a severe wildfire area where they have infrastructure all over the place. They just hit one of our mains yesterday, as a part of their undergrounding in West Point. And so they're keenly aware of the wildfire risk surrounding West Point. And this project would help reduce that risk. And it's just come across.
Why aren't they saying they're opposed to it?
Yeah, I don't know that there's any one clear answer, but it just feels very
higher price for the power.
Feels very bureaucratic, when I put it that way. They do have to pay a premium for the power. So they don't like these contracts necessarily, although, like I said, there is a benefit for them in it. But it's a tiny project. It really, it's not going to raise anybody's electricity bills. It's not going to affect PG&E's bottom line. This is a 3 megawatt project. So it's really inconsequential for PG&E, and it just seems very bureaucratic where it's stuck. And we're going to keep fighting to try to get it unstuck, but it's down to the wire.
All right. Well, thank you, Michael. Any other comments any public comment on General Manager's report? For the comments up here before we go to your own reports. Director Robertson.
Nothing.
Director Davidson.
I have nothing to report.
Director Thomas.
It's been a pretty boring month, huh?
So far.
Likewise, I have nothing to report.
Okay, well, I have a couple things to report. This week, Mountain County's Water Resource Association is having, we have meetings every other month to try and rotate them around. 4 of those meetings are hosted by board members. It was my turn to have a meeting as a board member. We chose Murphy's. Justin Caparuso, our executive director, has been working with Michael we're hosting it. So tomorrow we have a roundtable, which is something we used to do about 5-7 years ago. It's our first one in 5 or 7 years. It's going to be on dam safety. Starts at noon. It's a luncheon at the Murphy's Hotel. Afterwards, we have a reception also at Murphy's Hotel. Weather permitting, we'll be outside, but we do have an opportunity to move inside if the weather changes on Thursday evening. Friday morning is we're again still in Murphy's. We have our board meeting at UPUD. So the UPUD is offering their office to host our meeting. Kelly and Michael will be at the meeting on Friday morning to do a little presentation, which the host usually does, some talking about I know Kelly's got a lot to talk about and some new stuff to present to us. Going to be interesting. Also, just want to,
Sorry, clear that the reception's a really good thing. Directors to go to. That's
yeah, as far as the meeting on Thursday morning will be a presentation from CCWD about CCWD to the rest of the Mountain County Board. It'll be about stuff that
It'll be worth seeing for sure.
if you're interested
We're gonna
in
make sure
going,
of that.
it's free and you're right down a couple blocks away. Show up if you'd like to.
There is usually some good discussion in those meetings, good relationship building with other agencies.
You'll see me running the meeting again.
what time does it start?
Starts at 9. Is that right? 9? Yeah. 9 a.m. The other thing that Mountain Counties is really going to be pushing this year is the Urban Water Institute has a couple conferences a year. This conference that they're having, this is their main conference. It'll be in August 19th, 20th, and 21st, Coronado Island in San Diego. The Urban Water Institute is partnering with California United, which is a group consisting of Mountain Counties Water Resource Association, BOSHWA, which is a San Francisco Bay Area group, also the other Mesa Water District and Urban Water Institute. Those 4 institutions make up a group called California Water, which our previous executive director, John Kingsbury, who was with directed Mountain Counties Water Resource Association for at least 10 years, invented this group. Wanted to have this north to south, east to west dialogue about main thing forest management and a lot of advocacy. It's finally come to light. We're hitting the big time. We're doing state issues, federal issues, a lot of local issues, but Mountain Counties now is involved statewide. Again, the Bay Area group, Urban Water Institute, and Mesa Water District, one of the largest water districts in Southern California, make up the membership along with Mountain Counties. We got a heck of a voice these days at Mountain Counties. We got a lobbyist in Sacramento and a lot of great advocacy. I'm encouraging our staff, as many as can make it, to go to, again, August 19th, 20th, 21st. On the 20th, which is our general manager, Mr. Minkler's birthday, we're going to have a dinner cruise on the bay and as part of the conference. I'd encourage our entire board, if we can make it down there, staff members, to put it on your calendar. I talked to Becca yesterday. She's going to try and get some more information about it and send it out to everybody on the dates and registration and costs. And it might even, if we have enough people interested, it might even behoove us to become a member to get a better price on the conference fee for members versus non-members. And at least put it on your calendar. Think about it. It'd be a good time. We need a presence. Mountain Counties members need to show up and have a presence there. I'm going to be doing this exact same speech on Friday morning to all of our Mountain County board members. It's almost going to be mandatory that all of them show up that possibly can and make that trip to San Diego. That's all I got.
Said it was on Coronado Island. Will it be at the Del Coronado Hotel?
No, it's going to be.
Hotel there.
I think that's it. Yeah.
Stay there a few years.
A really nice conference. All right. Next board meetings are Wednesday, April 22nd, May 13th, right here in this room at 1 p.m. We're going to be going into closed session. We got 2 items to discuss. Before we go in, is any public comment on any of our closed items? 8A and 8B. Okay, we're going to temporarily adjourn this meeting and go into closed session. Thank you, everybody.